Hiya, it's Olivia from Girlybunches, and I thought I would do some more videos on how to actually make something. Previous videos I've shown you how to do certain stitches, and that's all very good, but let's get to make something, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? So in this episode I might have to break this into two, depends how much I go on a bit, but I thought I'd show you just granny squares. Excuse me. The granny square is just brilliant because it uses up all sorts of odds and ends of wool and yarn that you've got left over from other projects. So if you wanted to make a cushion cover or a baby blanket or even just a big giant blanket, it uses up all those odds and ends which you just can't bear to throw away. So this is what you can do with them. So this is just an example of 4 squares put together with some shades of green that I've got left over, and I've joined them together with a lovely cream. So I don't know how far we'll get in the first part, but what I aim to show you is how to make a square, sew in the ends. Not everybody knows. If you're not told, then you don't know, do you? That's how I always base life on. If you don't know, that's because someone hasn't told you. So I'll show you how to sew in ends. Also crochet together the squares. You can sew them together, but I quite like this this pattern that you get, this detail that you get when you crochet the squares together. You don't have to just do squares, you can do hexagonals and other diamond shapes, but let's just start off with the squares to begin with. So right, I'm going to use 2 balls of wool, 2 colours, which are the same thickness, so that when I use my crochet hook across them all, it's all going to be uniform sizes and shouldn't make it all wonky. That's probably the one thing you'd need to watch out for if you're making a blanket, is because if you've got different weights of yarn, then that will affect the look of it. So you don't want it to look all woolly, you want it to be all nice and cosy. You want it to, don't want big holes in it, apart from these holes, but they're supposed to be there, so you know, they let the draft in, but that's good if you've got a fever. So what should we start with? I've done a little square here, which I'm going to ultimately attach the one that we're going to make together to this one to show you how that's done. So I'll start with the opposite colour that I started to. I'll put that there. So in my previous video I did show you how to make a magic loop, and that's what I'm going to start off with here, because it's easier for me. But if you don't find that a very easy method to start off with, then you would probably want to chain probably 4 or 5 chains and then join them together with a slip stitch to make a loop. I could just quickly show you that actually. What you do is you start off as if you would normally. Let me just make sure you're in focus. There we go. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you bring it round to the first chain that you made and put the hook through. It's a bit tricky because I'm looking through the camera and at the same time. Then you just pull the yarn through and then through that stitch, and that's a slip stitch, and that joins together to make a loop like that, and then you would work into the loop. So I don't like that method. I'm a bit fingers and thumbs with that one, so I'm going to start off with my magic loop. So what we're going to do, just get started there. What we've got here, I don't know if you can see that very clearly, you've got 3 trebles in a group, then a gap, 3 trebles, a gap, 3 trebles, a gap, and then 3 trebles, and then it's joined together. So that's going to be our first row, and that's what I'll show you here. So into the loop we're going to do, to begin with, we'll do 3 chains, and that will be our first treble, like that, and then a treble into the loop, and then another one. Oops, sorry, I bashed the camera there with my crochet hook. I'm just doing it so you can see what I'm doing. Right, that's it. Now we're going to do 2 chains, like that, and that forms the gap that's here. And then we'll do another group of 3 trebles. So you can see there you've got a group and a gap and a group, and then I'll just do another 2 chain. Sorry, I'm not getting that on view. And another 3 trebles together in a group. One more set of 2 chains. Get me some more. And then we're going to go for our last group of 3 trebles. And so that we've got the gap between the 2 groups, I need to do 2 chain like that, and then we'll slip stitch into the top of the 3rd chain that we did to make our first treble. So I'll find where that is. So you've gone in, just pull it through and pull it through. And I'll pull up the loop because I'm going to just do a little bit of working here, and we take that tail end there and we just pull it, and you'll see that that pulls it together nicely. It's all nicely spaced, and that is our first row, and that gives us our 4 groups of 3 trebles. So to finish that row off, I just need to cut the end and then just pull that tail through the loop. If you hold it on to it nicely and give it a nice pull, it gives it a nice finish, and that knot never comes undone. It's amazing, that just doesn't come undone. That's good. So pull that tight. There we go, that's our first row. Okay, so now we need to do the next row. So let's go for our next colour, which is this dark green. So how we start this off, it's how I start this off. There's all sorts of ways of doing things, as I've said before, but this time how I start it off is I do the loop that we would normally start a chain with, and I put that on the hook like that. Hold on to my tail end, and then into one of the corners, to one of these gaps where I did the 2 chains, I just put the crochet hook through. I get the yarn that we're going to use from behind, and like I did to finish off the row before, I'm just going to do a slip stitch, which is just pulling it straight through. So that's pulling it through, and then that through there like that. You pull that nice and tight and move that over, and then we're ready to start. So again, we need to do 3 chains, which will represent our first treble, and we do another group of 3 trebles. That's 2 and 3 like that. I'll pull it round a little bit, and then we do 2 chains, and in the same space we're going to do another group of 3 trebles. Like that, in the corner. So we've got 2 groups of 3 trebles in the one corner, and again we do 2 chains, and we just go now into this corner. So that's a group of 3 trebles, chain 2, another group of 3. So I don't know if you can see that's starting to make that corner now. I'll just whiz through and do the rest going round.